Good morning. I would like to call the August session of the Hardyville Planning Commission to order. I'd like to start with the invocation and Pledge of Allegiance. Brianna.
Let's pray. Lord, thank you for having us here today, to helping us make these decisions that will affect the citizens of Hardyville and guide us in our knowledge and our patience. Amen. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. All right, item 1, approval of the agenda. Do any of the commissioners have any modifications they would like to suggest? Anything from the floor? Seeing none, do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Next item, public comment. Does anyone have anything they would like to get off their chest this morning before we talk about the PDD today? Seeing none, move on to old business. We need to approve the meeting minutes from June 14th. Do I have any comments from the commissioners? All right, do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, minutes are approved. Next item, new business. We have a master plan for us today for a portion of the Hilton Head Lakes area. Katie is going to start us out with a little orientation, if you will, of this area.
Morning. Today before you we have West Argent Pod I, the initial master plan application. The project is approximately 389 acres located off of Lakeside Boulevard adjacent to the Hardyville School and Horizons residential developments. Again, here's the project location. I have another map in just a second. It is currently vacant and undeveloped, primarily wooded with a few existing dirt roads, which are used for silviculture and utility easements. For some orientation, Pod I is located here. The school is directly adjacent. You have Red Dam Road here, Horizons. Station 83 is here, and this is Lakeside Boulevard right here, and Hilton Head Lakes and Meg Walker up here.
Quick question, Katie.
Mhm.
Does the Hardyville School property extend does it have an adjacency with Pod 1, or is there something in between?
It's directly adjacent. This is the border right here, the property line right here.
Oh, the property line
Yeah,
is,
this is the school complex property right
so there is an adjacency. All right, thank you.
Wait a minute.
That's what we're getting to the master plan here, which does show there are a number of wetlands that border the property as well. Here, this shows the initial layout. This is Road A. This is Lakeside Boulevard. All right. These are single-family detached units. Up to 450 dwelling units are proposed with this development. There are 3 access points. The initial access will be on Lakeside Boulevard. And then the traffic impact analysis was provided in your packet. No additional off-site improvements are recommended at this time, but staff review committee will continue to review that during the site permitting process based on current conditions at that time. Proposed open space plan. This does exceed the open space requirements for the West Argent PDD. Again, you can see there are a number, it's a little hard to see on here, but there are sidewalks that connect throughout, and then there is a 10-foot pathway right here that connects, as well as another pathway to the school over here, and the pathway will continue on Lakeside Boulevard as well. 51% total open space is proposed. Again, 10% is required per the PDD. They have incorporated at least a minimum of 15% active proposed open space. They're before you for a recommendation to City Council today. After this, they will go in front of City Council and then to Staff Review Committee for Site Development Permit. Staff does recommend approval of the proposed master plan. I do know that I had a few questions from Mr. Seipel that we are prepared to address today before we hand it over to the applicant. Brandon and I are going to kind of work together on this one. You did ask for some orientation, so I hope that with that, the status of the Lakeside Extension Site Development Permit, that is currently being cleared right now if you go out there. So that is underway.
So is that, do they have all the approvals they need to build the road?
It's underway right now.
I saw, trees knocked down.
And then you asked about Road A in a number of different ways. So I want to hand it over to Branna because she actually is the historian here of Hardyville.
I don't know that I like being the historian, but I've also got Mr. Simbor, the city manager here, that can help with this, as well as the engineers on this project, and a number of different folks that have been involved in the discussions for Road A. The West Argent PDD, when it was approved in 2005, 2006, the master plans did call for Road A. The development agreement has a number of different requirements. That development agreement is currently under review and is being amended in conjunction with the city and attorneys and the property owners and all of the property owners out there. Having said that, Road A will be built. It will have to be built. And as you can see, a portion of it will come through this project. But that does not impact this project going forward. And the funding and all of that, if you have any questions about the exact specifics of that, we can certainly hand it over to those folks that are involved in that negotiation.
So where does Road A terminate on the south? It says it provides connectivity to 278.
We don't have that information at this point in time. It's not all been decided because there's going to be right-of-way acquisition and a number of things that are off-site. That's what's being negotiated at this time.
All right, well,
Is there hope we'll come up with a more creative name than Road A?
Absolutely.
So the plan is that Road A would connect to 278 through Lakeside Boulevard, correct?
Not through Lakeside Boulevard. From Lakeside Boulevard, we're up here. Lakeside Boulevard will turn and Road A will come down. I don't know the exact path. I can't say that at this point in time.
that's what I was trying to figure out. Is it intended, and Mike, if you're the historian, is it intended to make?
I'm the historian. I just don't have that information. That's moving forward. I don't
All
know.
right, assistant historian. Is the thought it's going to connect to one of the existing roads like Red Dam, or is it going to come all the way out? Or we have no clue, it's a pipe dream that somehow there's another connectivity?
Hello, Mike Simbor, city manager. So this is an interesting quagmire.
Sorry I brought it up.
No, I think they'll misnown. I mean, this is 2005, 2006, and this PDD DA has been dormant up until recently. Like a couple years ago, Mr. Coggan Preserve Communities bought it, and then obviously retained a small portion of it in 278, and then sold it to these gentlemen, Coulter and Lennar. So up until recently, like the last, maybe less than a year probably, I didn't know anything about Road A because it was a dormant agreement, which hasn't been amended. The negotiations went, 2004 and 5, and it's still somewhat nebulous about who's doing what and how's it getting done and who's paying for it. So we're working through all those details right now. So this road will connect somewhere around the Medical Center Drive area.
Oh.
I mean, Red Dam Medical Center Drive, somewhere in that. We have some rough drawings and ideas. And then I think you've seen, we're putting together what I call the 278 corridor plan. Have you guys seen that map?
No.
Okay, we'll provide that. But that's basically all Morgan, West Argent, Latitude, and South Point, and am I missing one?
Whatever's going up.
Well, Hilton Head Lakes. Basically all the proposed improvements that we are going to anticipate, traffic signals, widening of I-95, widening of 278, turn lanes, John Smith improvements, all that stuff. We're trying to get everyone to cooperate based on, the needed infrastructure to support the movement of people and, vehicles and everything else. So we are working on that. That's going to be our task for the next several years, but we have the cooperation of, which is a good thing, the developers and the property owners. This is going to be a challenge because, if you look at a portion of this is in Mr. Coggins' property that he retained, a portion of it is in Coulter, Lennar, and a portion of it's in unincorporated Jasper County. So, it's going to be some challenges to try to figure out how we're going to make this work. But we've pledged to work with the developers, and we're informing and keeping the city council informed. But so we're methodically working through how we're going to make all these proposed improvements.
Are we going to annex the?
Well,
portion?
That would be probably up to the property owners. Understanding it's a family that owns most of the property that a portion of the road will run through. So again, we can take property by eminent domain for public purpose, even if it's in unincorporated Jasper County. But there'll have to be some consideration. So we can do a public road, but obviously we can't require them to annex. And I don't know if they would or
I'm
not.
just curious if
Right.
we're going to pursue that.
Well, someone's going to have to pursue it. I would expect that Jasper County will not pursue it. So if we will be taking the lead on building that road.
Well, access to Red Dam gets you to Medical Center Drive, which gives you a light, which is a good thing.
Right. Absolutely. And I think in that stretch, there's 2 or 3 new lights, I think, that we looked at, something like that. Yeah.
It's going to be.
Yeah.
New crossovers there and some new things that
Right.
happen.
And with I-95 widening and exit 80 improvements, that whole first section is going to change anyway. And the state will be paying for a majority of those improvements. Anything else I can answer?
No,
I'll go sit down over there and be quiet.
that was a fun discussion.
Thank you.
Katie,
Did anyone have anything else they want to add? Sure. Nathan Long, Thomas and Hutt.
Good morning,
Morning.
Morning.
Mr. Chairman, members of Planning Commission. As Brandon said, I'm Nathan Long. I'm with Thomas and Hutton. We're a design consultant on the project. Also here with Lennar, I have a representative from them. Mr. John Hoff is here, and Brian Kiernan is here with LK Development Group. So he was kind of the Coulter side of the Lennar Coulter venture. And I will discuss a little bit on Road A as we go through this. But can we just hit back?
Yeah. Oh, probably forward.
Let's see. So as you mentioned, Mr. Chairman, there is some clearing going on out there now. So one thing that we've been working on for the past year or so is about 2.5 miles of 4-lane roadway that's going to go up kind of north and west through West Argent, which is planned to open up future development pods, right, for development, obviously. The section of that road is a 4-lane boulevard. It's very similar to Lakeside Boulevard. I would say that one of the really good things is the developers planning to build all 4 lanes at one time. Whereas East Argent and some of these other ones that you see, they've built 2 lanes, and then, 15 years later, someone else has to build the other 2 lanes. So I think that is definitely a positive that they're kind of taking that on. The road will also have the 10-foot multi-use path, similar to what you see on Lakeside Boulevard now. So we kind of see this similar to like in Buckwalter, where they had that path that people use all the time on the Bluffton Parkway and Buckwalter Parkway there. Having that path, I think, will be good for all residents. But the road extends right to here and intersects. So right here's where it goes north-south. So the plans I mentioned are building it right to this property line right now, right? So
So
it's going to get built to there, and then it heads way up into, probably about to there. It goes to the next wetland crossing. It gets through the next big piece of upland.
So the section that will service this community, when do you anticipate it would be available?
Timing is, it obviously they're going to focus on building that part of the road first, right? Because they're providing access to this. But the timing should work out well because we still have to design all this. It's going to be a year before we get permits to start clearing on this, and then this will take 8 to 10 months or more to build.
So the
So
road will be done in
The
a
road
year,
should be, that section of road will be here.
including the Buford Jasper water and all their pieces.
Yes, sir. And part of this too, and we can go through that as we talk through it, is we've got a pump station planned here. As part of that road, there's a regional pump station, way up here off the page, but that's going to take in all of that extra stuff. Like this one here is literally just going to have a force main that comes out to here. There's a force main already on Lakeside Boulevard,
Mm-hmm.
so it'll just connect to that.
And go south.
So we don't need that pump station to be accepted for this one. It feasibly that could be accepted. Now, again, the timing, it should be built and accepted, but sewer wise, we don't need that road.
And you're not going to have a pipe to it,
Correct. Not to that pump station that's part
not
of the
for
road.
a while.
Yeah, we're just going to have we're going to have a pump station here with a force main that connects to an existing force main that already goes all the way back to the treatment plant. Water similar, we're going to stub all that out down Lakeside, to this development. So as I mentioned, that Pod I is one of the pods that will be serviced and is dependent upon that road that's, under the clearing right now. I think she went through kind of where it was located. 450 lots is what's proposed for the initial master plan. I think our current layout is probably I want to say it's like 428 lots. We typically want to make sure we got a little bit of buffer there in case something changes, but just to let you know, we probably are building about 430.
So that's what, about 4 houses per net acre once you get roads and pathways and amenity centers?
Yeah, it should
and-
be much less than that.
Really?
It's probably like 2.5 units per acre.
Okay.
Now, this site has a lot of wetlands. Like 45% of this site is wetlands. But yeah, this is similar to what you've seen most residential product. Some single family, they may have some cottage type units there. But we talked about accesses, I believe, one will be off of Lakeside. That's kind of the main community entrance here. There's 2 more here. The site is, like as I mentioned, somewhat bisected by wetlands. Then you've got Road A. We've got a bunch of buffers there on that road. And then there's also a lot of utility easements bisecting the property. Y'all probably seen that. Go back to that aerial. You can see here's a big utility easement, and then there's also this one. So, I feel like we've done a really good job in working with the developer to plan this project with. We're going to have another 10-foot trail. The same 10-foot trail here is going to come down Road A. And we also are planning, y'all had mentioned the school. Let me go back to this one so you can see. You can see that little triangle right here, right? That's a good reference point. If I back up to the aerial, that's right there. So the property is adjacent to the school. There's some buffering of wetlands kind of up in this area, but this area is fairly close. We left the lots off of that property line and put a pond over adjacent to the school. But one thing we are planning is a connectivity with a trail, walking trail to the school, so that if residents have children, obviously it's that close, mom doesn't have to, drive all the way out and around to, if the kids are old enough to walk to school. We thought that would be a nice feature.
It is.
And then like Mr. Simborn and Brandon mentioned, Road A, that was discussed in the existing development agreement. There is an alignment of Road A defined in the development agreement as well. We're honoring that alignment for now. There's, as he mentioned, like Mr. Coggin owns some of this piece. He owns this property here. So the road is ultimately planned to kind of come through there. There's a right-of-way tag here. We've been looking at spacing of access points. As Mr. Simborn mentioned, like Medical Center Drive, that access point is actually moving further east. There's a plan ongoing now, and I'm not sure if y'all have seen those layouts, but we are coordinating with that, as well as Johnson Road and the Morgan Tract and all these other developments. We're kind of looking at this whole corridor. There's extra studies going on, so that I do think the final alignment of kind of how that hits 278 is, it is defined, but it could change slightly. But we are honoring the alignment as we go through Pod I, and ultimately that road will be funded through the road impact fees that get collected for each home site that gets built in the PDD.
Nathan, could we get a copy of that slide after the meeting?
Oh, absolutely.
I'll send that to you.
Okay, because that's really, it helps orient us.
Right. Yeah, and I know it's a lot of different properties, and aerial is a really good way too to kind of see how things align. Yeah, we're here with the whole development team. Happy to answer any questions. As Brandon mentioned, we do understand ultimately West Sargent has enough units that you need 2 4-lane boulevard connections to 278. So that's a fact. So that's part of what we're planning here, and we're making sure we're building that piece of the road through Pod I, right? And as we progress north, we're building it that way. But we have some time to figure out, how it gets to here unit count wise before it's needed and necessary. So I think that kind of plays into it as well. And that's why we did this piece first, because our traffic study can support that it's not needed today.
I do have a question. You are showing a community entrance off Lakeside Boulevard, correct?
Yes.
Okay, so are you gonna build up Road A before you start construction? Or a construction vehicle is gonna be coming up Lakeside?
I think construction vehicles are going to have to come through Lakeside, like that's and similar to Magnolia Walk that's getting built. Like that's really the only access to the property.
And the first
So,
piece to be
now,
built is going to
There are some haul roads up through on the other side of this school property. There's an easement through here that accesses all this northern piece. I'm not sure if there's a dirt road there, but we can look at that too, because obviously they want to keep construction access off of that too as best they can.
Now, why I ask is I live in Latitude Lakes, and the construction traffic for
Yeah,
Margaritaville is tearing up
the road,
big time.
right, and that's always a concern. So yeah,
It's the cement trucks more than anything else.
right.
All right, Steve, why don't you just lead in with your questions then?
Oh, okay. Yeah. This is a completely separate from Horizons, correct?
Yes.
Oh,
Let me back up real quick when you say Horizons. Oh, yes.
Okay.
Yes, completely.
so,
Same PDD zoning, but different developers.
but nothing has happened with Horizons yet.
Correct. They don't own this property. It's a different project. I can tell you that's in design now too for another.
Okay.
So
But-
someone's coming forward
but-
with that.
Lennar came in with the master plan for Horizons, and that's what we approved.
That's true. At the time, they were under agreement to purchase that property. They ended up not closing on the property. So the seller, who's the same guy that had this, that retained this piece, Jeff Coggin, he's selling that to another builder.
So that master plan is out the window.
No, that's still, the new developer has to build to that master plan unless they come back to you and modify it. If they want to modify it, they have to come back before this public body. If they build to the approved master plan, they can have engineering plans based on the approved plan.
Yes, that's 100% correct. And just a reminder, the zoning goes with the property, not the owner. So it is still the same zoning that you approved for that.
Okay.
Any other questions? All right, Mr. Foreman, your turn.
Okay, I want to ask some, I'll say clarifying questions about a couple of the issues that have been raised,
Sure.
especially the access roads, Road A and the access roads and the connectivity piece. Are these all called for in the development agreement?
Yes.
Okay, that, we haven't seen the development agreement.
Okay.
The development agreement is referred to as the development agreement of 2005.
It actually was last modified in 2008, but the current version is 2008, but it all started in 2005, yes.
When does it expire?
Uh,
For 35 years, isn't it?
I don't know, Mr. Mayor.
I don't recall. I mean, we're the master developers plan to develop the property. We're working with the city to have a new stamped development agreement, so we don't anticipating it expiring.
Well, I would be interested in trying to figure out how long you have to do this, but
Right.
when it's really interesting to note, I often note that the staff is all over this issue about the roads, which I think is great, but I'm having some difficulty understanding whether these are requirements, the 3 access points, or aspirations. Is it a requirement that there be the 3 access points in this development?
When you
Right.
say 3, you mean
Well, you say there are 3
talking about
access,
these access points?
no, the 3
That
access,
access point?
yeah.
Yeah, none of
Road
that's
A,
I
Lakeside.
mean, we have to have multiple access points typically for fire protection. You want to have more than one access point to a community. Just based on the way this property is laid out, the road again bisects it. So you got to have an access here to get to this, and you need to access somewhere for this side. So we feel like we laid it out really well for access, but
I think the 3 accesses are great. My question is, are you required to do that or not?
If we approve this master plan,
That's exactly
Oh,
what I was gonna
yes.
say.
that's
true,
their
yeah.
Bible.
yeah,
Well,
this
if
is
that-
what we would like to do.
That-
If you approve it, then
Yeah.
that's what we will
That,
do.
that's what I was gonna offer to you also. Is
Okay.
If it's in the master plan, this is what their requirements are.
Okay, well, in the memo that we have here, it doesn't really indicate, I mean, we're talking today about Road A connecting to 278. But we don't know where exactly.
There is a defined alignment in that development agreement that I mentioned. We're honoring that alignment.
Okay, what is that alignment? What's it say? That it must have, Right.
It's just like, it's exactly as it's drawn right here through this parcel. And then it kind of,
It's when it leaves that parcel.
That's still being thought out.
right. And that's in the development agreement as well, but it kind of comes through
I-
and hits 278, I think, right here.
so the development agreement requires that Road A connect to 278?
Yes.
Okay. The connectivity piece, just for me to be clear, because I'm not an engineer, the connectivity is not in a wetlands area.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, there's a wetland impact permit that was obtained through the Corps of Engineers for all of West Sargent. It's one huge permit. So that defines road crossings. It defines any wetland impacts as well as wetland buffers, which is why you'll see. I hope I'm going the right way. I always pick the wrong way again. But if you were to zoom in on this, you'll see, and you can see the light, see that light color around like that wetland?
Yeah.
Like that's the wetland buffer. Like all of that is defined. There are recorded covenants and restrictions that protect the preserved wetland as well as the wetland upland buffer. And then it also defines what you can and can't do within the wetland. So all the impacts that we're proposing are approved, and everything that's protected is protected by the permit as well.
Okay, and now this connection would be to the school, which is, I take it, private property. Who will build it? Who will pay for it? Who will maintain it? And for whom will it be available for use?
So we are working with the school board on a access easement for that, right? And we also have like a water line connection that's going to come through here. There's a water line. So we're working through them with that. It hasn't been defined on that easement agreement will define access and maintenance and those types of things. So it hadn't been completely worked out, but the goal is a walking path. It's not a paved road per se, but it's a walking path.
But is there public access?
John, do you know how to answer that? It's really for the residents. I don't know why anyone else would want to walk through there, but
Hey,
like,
Council John Hoff with Lennar. It's gonna be open for whoever walks down it, just like Hilton Head Lakes Boulevard. Anybody can come in and walk down it. I don't see it being, we're not gonna put a gate on it or anything like that. It'll be open sidewalk. And like Nathan said, we'll discuss the maintenance.
like John said, there's that 10-foot path here, is going to come through here as well. So
I know there's a lot of people.
that is
come in
pretty
and
much
use
open
it.
to the public.
Yeah, it's,
When you say,
So if somebody from another community wanted to walk up the road, sidewalk along Lakeside and get to this, they could go to the school. It's just a hike.
yeah, well,
You get to another development, it becomes a hike.
but that's part of the development plan. That's, when you say pretty much open to whoever wants to use it.
Well, ultimately, these roads, I believe, and Michael, correct me if I'm wrong, but they're ultimately planned to be City of Hardyville roads, the main roads. So Road A and Lakeside.
Yeah, So yeah,
I don't think they are today,
so
but
you're going from a public area to a private area, the school.
The school's a public area.
Is the school,
It's not a private school.
that's open to the public? Anyone can drive in there, park there?
I don't know the
Yeah.
answer to that.
Okay. All right, well, who is paying to develop that connection? Is
That
the
will be
developer?
part of what Lennar does with this master plan construction.
Okay, they
You
pay
know,
for it.
they will build the pathway. Yeah.
And then it will become a public pathway that the public will maintain? Is that what you're saying? I don't want to put words in your mouth, I'm just trying to
That's
understand
not
who.
what I'm saying.
Okay.
But I think Lennar would maintain that walking trail to the school. Now, the 10-foot pathway on Road A, if and when it's dedicated to the city of Hardyville, the city would maintain that road and pathway at that point. Prior to that, the declarant, the LK Development Group, will maintain those pathways.
And each of those things is required in the development plan.
Yes, it's in the development agreement.
It's in the development
It
agreement.
does discuss all of that, yes. Now, not the pathway to the school, because we just proposed that, but the main roads are defined and discussed in that development.
And is the pathway on, adjacent to the road that you're talking about, is that in the development agreement or,
I don't think so.
so what, is that, that's not a requirement then?
It will be if you approve this
Okay, it's in
plan,
there.
like we're proposing to put a path there.
Okay. All right, I think that's all I have. Thank you.
All right, to my right, the next Jeff.
The documentation says there's 3 entrances, but the drawing, if you go to the drawing of the development, shows 4.
We're calling this one entrance, so that's the confusion there. I was reading through that this morning too.
Okay.
Like, I mean, I'm thinking of it, I guess, in terms of intersections,
Okay.
like that.
I guess,
We're
depending on how
calling
you're
that-
defining
You're right,
it.
it's technically 4 if you count 2 there.
Yeah, there's the one to the kind of the lower left.
Right through here,
That
yeah.
called it an entrance, but when I saw 3, I counted 4. So it depends how you count it.
Right,
Okay.
yes, sir.
All right.
Okay, now where would the 3 be?
So there's a entrance here to the extension that's we
Right.
discussed under construction.
Yep.
There's both way entrance. This is a full access median cut,
They're calling that one entrance.
right? So that'll allow you to access this road and come into the community here. And then this is the third one. This is access for kind of the southern half. The thought was, well, you got the main road that's going to go to 278, then
Okay.
you shouldn't force them to drive all the way back up here to come back that way. So spacing is long enough there to have an access.
Okay,
So-
thank you. That clarifies that.
Yes, sir.
The only other question I have is this Road A, where does it go to the north? What is it planned to intersect with?
So it does T right here to Lakeside,
Right, right.
and there's also a little T right here to this is Magnolia Walk.
Okay.
Like that plan accesses the road, and then as it comes up here, this goes through a big piece of upland that has frontage on both sides of the road. It's roughly 2,000 acres up there that will have multiple communities as it's built out. So there will be different access points. I think we looked at that and spaced them out, right? You don't want them too close, but I think we've got, once you get to here, that's a traffic circle, but then there's that one and maybe 2 more before you get to the next wetland.
What next road is it expected to terminate with?
It just terminates up in,
It's just going to stop someplace?
yeah, that's it. There's nothing up there but I-95 and
Okay.
yeah, wetlands. So it's just,
So we put
and that's why you need multiple connections back to 278 because
well, the
we've got
big
a lot of
cul-de-sac at
residents
the
up
top so
there.
everybody can
Yeah.
turn around and come
Right.
back down.
Right.
Okay. That's all I have. Thank you.
Rick? All right. Okay, my turn. It looked to me like your amenities area is pretty meager. When I measured it out, it looked like you've only got a couple of acres there. Is that
Yeah.
about right?
I mean, I'm guessing it's 3 to 4 acres.
Oh,
Just
okay.
looking at it, it is a little deceiving from this, but Lennar does a lot of these planned communities, so they also program in the right size for the amenity area. So it's kind of based on the 450 residents utilizing that area.
So what kind of amenities are we talking about? Ball diamonds, swimming
Hasn't been
pools?
completely defined, but it's definitely would be like a kind of the pool. I would assume it's going to have a pool. John, do you want to speak?
Yeah.
to that?
Again, thank you, council. Currently, right now, we have a pool that we have planned in there. We'll have some active open spaces that are in there, whether it's bocce ball, a playground, pickleball, something. We haven't decided yet what's going to go in there. That will we'll continue to work with that. There'll be a
I
parking
vote for a
lot.
playground.
Huh?
I vote for a playground.
I love playgrounds and I have 2 young kids, so
know.
it's always nice even when we go to visit people. They have playgrounds and developments for kids. Some sort of playground, open space area for kids to run around in. Nothing extravagant. I mean, I don't think we're having a restaurant or anything in there for one. Thank you.
Okay, you talked about sidewalks, one side of the street or both?
One.
Okay. Makes sense.
And the 10-foot trail, one side of the road A.
Okay, do we have any elevations of the houses you want to put in there? What it's gonna look like?
I think they're still programming that as well. It's definitely going to be consistent with the lot sizes, approved with the PDD. I can't speak to that either. I know Lennar's they try to program based on the market, but it'll be similar to what they're doing in Magnolia Walk, I would anticipate, if y'all have seen that product type.
Trying to think.
Have y'all got any of those out yet completely?
It should be similar to what you've seen from what we built in Hilton Head Lakes, the lots that we bought from Real Star. I want to say we have those planned in there, two-car garages, single-family homes, anywhere between 16 to, I think, 2,200 square feet is where we're looking.
Two-story?
Single and two-story. But we can get a document together if you guys need something on that.
So you haven't fixed the setback yet, so assuming that most people fill their garages with junk, will there be space in front of the garages to park a couple of cars then?
Yes.
It has 20 Yeah.
Yeah. I think it's a 25-foot front setback. So 2 cars per driveway is fairly typical.
Unless it's a big truck, which is 33 feet.
Yeah. Sure.
All right, is there going to be, do you anticipate visitor parking, or will that just be along the street?
I mean, you could park additional car in the driveway, but no, we're not doing visitor parking. It's just,
Okay.
it's just driveways.
Okay, well, it's not an apartment, that's would be typical. Let's see here. I've already answered all my other questions, so I'm done. Steve?
Yeah, I've got a couple more. Mailboxes, where do you anticipate that?
Typically, we have to work with the postal office on that. They've
Good.
gotten away from one mailbox per driveway, and you have to do mail
Odds.
kiosks now.
I thought the law was it was
Oh.
centralized.
That's exactly right. That's
Yeah.
that's what we'll do.
And there has been some change in postmasters since over the last 6 months, I guess. And they're changing it up a little bit again. So we'll go with
Yeah.
current when this comes through for site development. But at this time, it's anticipated to be clusters of kiosks.
And then streetlights.
They will work with the electrical provider and have streetlights. There's a lighting plan.
Have you considered solar-powered streetlights?
If that's something that's offered, it can be considered.
It would save you money in the long term. Somebody has to pay for the electric to run the lights. I
Yeah,
mean,
that would be a question for the electric provider if we can
Yeah.
get that type of, but sure, yeah, they'd be open to discussing that.
When I travel outside of the country, it is amazing how much solar lighting there is on street signs and just general street lighting. I mean, it's a one-time investment.
Some developments in Savannah have gone to solar-powered. And I think they're a better streetlight. They give you more light. But that's all I had was,
All right, any other follow-on? Is there any comment from the public?
Yes.
Ah. Mr. Public,
Steve Mearsman, Hardyville. Gentlemen, this development comes online, I do see some positives with it. Sidewalks within the neighborhood are a must if children are going to be in there. Not knowing where Road A is going to come out is always going to be a concern. But one thing to consider, and it was just brought up about the mailboxes. The development I currently live in, because of the regulations or lack of regulations, they have put 800 mailboxes in one central location. Does not have sufficient parking or access or anything like this. And for this development, I urge the developer to look at multiple spaces for the mailboxes and provide ample parking for these. These are going to be family homes, children, everything else involved in there. Access to the school, I think, is necessary. I would like to see the pathways enlarged from 12 feet to even a little bit larger to be able to accommodate walkers, bicycles, and golf carts. Golf carts are becoming much more part of every community down here. And they will have access through all of that. But those were my concerns as this goes along, and, please consider the points that I have brought up and do the best for what you feel for the community. Thank you.
Steve, I would certainly like to see golf carts on the street, not on the walking path my kids are gonna be on.
That's true. But as the connectivity goes along, as we're talking here, as Road A moves, Road A is going to connect each one of these developments together.
Right.
And I don't know if, with the possibility of up to 4,000 homes in the community, I don't know if Lakeside or Road A is going to be the proper place for an 18-mile-an-hour golf cart with the traffic that could be running 25 to 35 miles an hour.
Well, and if,
We see those difficulties in the community that I'm at now.
Yeah.
if the speed limit's 35 miles an hour on that road, they can't be there anyway, so.
Well,
It's true.
it's true, but in my community, because it's a private road, we still have that.
Mhm.
Just use your best judgment on this. 10-foot wide path may be workable for bicycles and pedestrians. 12-foot would be better.
One more thing. Just, I ask that you consider it. Right now, the Costa mailboxes in Margaritaville, if it's raining, like some of the downpours we get, they're not covered. The mail gets wet. Consider covering those Costas.
Well, it's interesting. In Sun City, I've seen an evolution on my side. You guys have obviously seen it too. From single mailboxes to clusters of 16 or 32 to the giant,
Mhm.
kiosk thing that Steve's talking about, but ours is at least covered. But yeah, I mean, it's got hundreds of mailboxes in what they're building in the newest sections. So, but again, that's something that's not under your control.
That evolution shows you the changes in postmasters.
Mm-hmm.
And now they are going back, to my understanding, to smaller clusters and not putting the whole community in one. But
One big shelter house.
what we're doing to try to help with this situation is we are inviting both postmasters, depending on, whether it's the Hardyville postmaster or the Ridgeland postmaster, because we do have some that are under the Ridgeland. We invite them to participate in staff review committee. If they cannot come, we've had separate meetings with them kind of offline about some projects and made sure that they're coordinating with the developers on that. So we are trying to help figure that out as we move forward.
Whether it's 100 mailbox Costa or a 10 mailbox Costa, please consider covering. I know, I don't like my mail getting wet.
All right. Any other comments, questions? Yes, ma'am.
My name is Valerie Guzman. I live in Hilton Head Lakes. Mr. Talbot, you brought up a very important question about construction traffic on Lakeside Boulevard. It's very concerning to us because right up until Lena purchased that property, we knew right off the bat how much money the Master Association was getting from our HOA fees. Right up until the time Lena purchased that property, 75% of our HOA fees was going towards maintaining the Lakeside Boulevard that we call affectionately the $1 Million Mile. Just think about it. 75% of our HOA fees are going to maintain the $1 Million Mile. So you're going to have this development that's right now. I see them going up and down with their dumpsters, clearing that property, heavy trucks. I've noticed potholes on Lakeside Boulevard. Some of them you can fit a 4-bedroom, 3-bath house in them. Associa does come and fill the potholes, but then the HOA gets billed for that expense. I don't know what percentage of our HOA fees goes towards maintaining the boulevard anymore. Since Lena purchased it, we have not been able, for the past 2 years, been able to get a correct assessment of how much of our HOA fees is now going to maintain the boulevard. Lena has been tone deaf to that request. My worry and concern right now is the tremendous amount of construction traffic that's going to be going up and down Lakeside Boulevard until this thing is either built out or they build another road to direct the construction traffic through there. I just hope you guys will give that consideration before you approve, or maybe table it until you get better answers from them.
Well, what we can do is make a recommendation to council that they not approve it without some sort of a secondary agreement on contributions from builders to maintaining your road, which will ultimately be our road. If they're doing, you know, those heavy trucks obviously do a lot more damage than your SUV. That's something that really the council would have to integrate into whatever development agreement they approve for this development and any other development that goes in the 2,000 acres that are supposedly north of this. So that's something that we can put in our recommendations for council to be aware of. And I imagine that, I don't know, at least one council member will be able to discuss that with the rest of the council members.
Talking about when the city will take over those roads, I have checked with City Hall and they told me Lakeside Boulevard will stay under Lakeside Boulevard until the 3,000 certificate of occupancy has been issued. So we're nowhere near that. So yeah, we'll be stuck with that burden for quite a while.
Yes, you will. All right, so,
Thank you so much.
all righty.
Thank you.
Anyone else? All right, do I have a motion to approve this application?
Council, I'd like to address you guys, with Lennar on Ms. Guzman's question on, maintaining of Lakeside Boulevard. As we purchased it, we are the owner of the road. Any maintenance that has to be done will be the responsibility of Lennar and Coulter as we do construction traffic through it. And I think typically we would have to come to you guys and do a punch walk with the city before we ever turn this over, and it would be at the cost of the developer and not on the community.
All right, so you're saying Ms. Guzman's concern that the HOA is getting billed for the maintenance.
Some of that, she is correct. Some of that maintenance is billed to the Master Association. At the end of the day, Lennar is the declarant of Hilton Head Lakes Master Association. We have to fund any deficits that are created due to construction, traffic, and stuff like that.
But before that, losing her 4-bedroom, 3-bath house in a pothole is her problem.
I would like to see where that pothole is. I just drove it this morning. There are some potholes that have been repaired, and as that goes on, we have to fund, like I said, any deficits in the HOA for that.
Yeah, but that doesn't, that's between you and them. That's between you and them, but I think it's something council might want to address in future development agreements. Not only there, but the other large developments we have going on, so. All right, do I have a motion to approve?
I move that we approve consideration of an initial master plan for a portion of parcel 042-00-06-045, known as Pod I, located on Hilton Head, on Lakeside Boulevard, West Argent Plan Development District, with the recommendation that a construction access other than Lakeside Boulevard be considered.
I'll second that.
Do I have a motion to approve?
Move.
All right,
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. All righty, that takes us to our next order of business. The planning manager's report.
I'll jump and talk about the MZDO real quick, and then Katie can talk about current planning stuff. As far as the MZDO update is concerned, we have Katie spent most of yesterday locked away and working on things with the consultants, or for the consultants that we will be turning back over to the consultants. We are anticipating a few weeks, and then our next step, we would like to have a joint workshop with Planning Commission and Council, which we're going to be coming up with some dates. Our last piece of the puzzle, that we are incorporating some things from our task force, where we're working on some of the issues that have been brought up by the public and council on code enforcement and some other things. So I've got to get some information from the city attorney back to the consultant, and the attorney has to do a review, and then we will be ready to move forward. So we look forward to be able to bring that to you in the next month, and diving into MZDO rewrite and showing you what we've come up with. Thank you.
Good morning. Just a few highlights from SRC. It's been really busy with a lot of utility projects, which is a sign of the growth. Trying to keep up with that, but we also we're moving on to retreat at East Argent Phase 5 already. Those are, if you haven't been out there, it is moving right along. Four Corners is a building supply company that will be beginning construction at the corner of 278 and John Smith Road fairly shortly here. That's on a piece of property that's straight zoning, so it went through staff review committee.
Which corner?
On the same side of 278, so across from South Point, you're going to be also across from where the cancer clinic is. No, that's on this side. You're going to the other side.
So on the same side, this council center is.
Go across John Smith. Yep.
Okay.
Heron Point, which you saw part of Gateway Crossings, Phase 1 and Phase 2 are under review by staff review committee. So that is the one that is right down here off of Main Street. And it runs kind of between Main and 17. And then Twin Ponds is already on Phase 3 for review. So that is, they're almost completely through staff review committee. And then the other one I wanted to bring up is a project that kind of got started and sat for a little while, but the apartments at Hearthstone Lakes are moving forward again at this time. So we do have all four boards are pretty much full. If you walk back there, there is a lot of time where it sits between staff review committee and we wait for a resubmittal due to the state permitting process. It is pretty slow right now, but if you want an update on any of the projects, feel free to come on back and we'll talk you through those.
So Steve mentioned Horizons earlier in today's discussion. Nothing has been brought to you yet on that one.
Actually, staff review committee did a first review before the ownership changed. So they'll be coming back through staff review committee at some point.
All right, so you've got something you've reviewed, but you expect the new developer will modify,
From what I've heard, they were buying the plan that was adopted. So if there are any changes, they still have to resubmit to staff review committee no matter what. If there are changes, they will come back before you as well.
All right, any questions? Okay.
Yeah, I do.
I knew that.
Um, Margaritaville Phase 11, nowhere on their master plan or the revised master plan can I find Phase 11.
It was never, the lot layout was not shown, but it was shown as developable area, and we'd be happy to talk you through that.
Well, okay, I guess my question is, they're going to develop it, but we don't know what the hell they're going to put there.
We do not have the layout at this time, but it will have to come through staff review committee, and they will have to be under the maximum density for the development.
And all the other standards.
And yes.
The reason I ask is because there are really some upset citizens in Margaritaville that were told, this is what you'll have, and now they're being told, well, now we're going to do this and that. I mean, it just seems as though we approve something and then these developers just go and do what they want.
We can talk about that. Brandon and I are certainly happy to help. We've done a lot of research on it, and we can give you some information.
They are doing certain standards and developing to certain standards that are already the PDD and master plan.
Okay. And on the car track, anything on that yet?
We do not have an application.
Okay.
All right. Then at that point, commissioners have any comments that we haven't covered? Yes?
I have three quick things. Because it's 2 months later, I wanted to pose the question that I've been posing at this portion of the meeting for some time now, which is that we have requested the information regarding the number of units that have been approved in Hardyville but not yet built.
Wasn't that this document?
Where'd that come from?
No, we have
I haven't seen that.
pipeline. I will email it out to
Okay.
you. I thought you were on the email that went out to everyone. I will,
That's this,
no, it's a very detailed, it does change constantly. It's very thorough. It took, several members of staff, a lot of time and effort. Some of you may have seen us out on weekends counting houses and other things. It is completed. It is on the website, I'm pretty sure, but I'll make sure I'll get
But
copies of that.
if I did, I didn't.
I will
notice
make
that.
sure,
haven't seen it.
it may have come from Mr. Davis or another staff member, but I'll make sure everyone gets it
All right, thank you.
today.
it's an improved version of this.
It's much improved. It is an entire spreadsheet with lots of details of what was approved throughout the entire, as we say, pipeline, from the development agreement to the PDD to the master plan to the SRC phases and all of that.
The second thing, I think everyone's very excited to see the MCDO draft. But if at all possible, would it be possible for us prior to that meeting to see the draft and look at it ourselves so that we can prepare to ask
We're trying to put all those dates together now as to, and like I mentioned, the attorney's got to have her time with it as well. And we're trying to put all those pieces in the puzzle, but a couple of things like the information on short-term rentals and some stormwater issues that we want to make sure that we're covering everything from all other jurisdictions and everything. So that's taking a little bit of time. So as soon as I know those dates, absolutely. Now, will it be an extensive amount of time for you to pour through every detail of this thing? Probably not, just because of the extent of it. But we'll give you some highlights on things that we know changed and that you can.
Following up on Jeff's comment, you're obviously eating the elephant one bite at a time. And so as you get a section reviewed by whoever cares to review it, can you just release this in pieces?
We
to
don't,
us?
we are not doing it one piece at a time. We are to a certain extent, but we are going to get the document back as a whole, and it's going to the attorney as a whole. Um, because of the cross-referencing and all of that, there's a lot of it in this document. We've changed in our downtown zoning tremendously with these transect zonings and form-based code. A lot of that ties into the other sections, and we have to make sure all of that is fitting right to begin with. Also, the stormwater and some of the landscaping things. We want to make sure that we have it. We're not going to hand it to you for this workshop for you to just approve. That is not the intent at all. This is a process for you to go through.
Yeah, I think, you know, I think for myself, and I think for all the members of the commission, you know, I would view it as one of our very highest priorities to pour through it and make real recommendations to the council members. And in order to do that, we can't be done in a day or a week. I think we need 2 weeks to do that.
I'm not saying that,
Yeah,
sir.
no,
What I'm,
if you let me finish a bit, I think that what Mark just said is a really good compromise. The second point I'd like to make is I think all the members of the commission would recognize an absolute confidentiality requirement. I mean, nobody's passing this stuff around and talking to anybody, but hopefully our input would be a constructive part of that process. But please give us some time to do that.
and sorry for interrupting you, but what I wanted to say is I didn't mean that you weren't going to have that time to pour through it. I'm saying before that workshop, you won't have time to pour through it, but you will before you act on it and you forward it to council. You will have plenty of time.
How much time do you expect before the workshop?
I don't know that yet because I don't know when I'm going to have it. The point is the workshop will present it to you with the consultants being there as a whole to be able to clarify some things, not for your reactions or questions. We will have other workshops. We'll have other processes and public meetings. This is going to be,
Sure.
it's going to be a longer process than just you'll get it and have to vote on
Well,
it. That's not what I'm intentioning.
Okay, well, then, I mean, in response to that, I just want to say, if we do not have an opportunity, a reasonable opportunity to review it before that workshop, I really feel like it's not going to be terribly constructive.
I understand that we're going to give you all of that time. That's why the date has not been set. 'Cause we don't know.
Before the workshop.
Absolutely. There's going to be time. I'm saying it's not going to be a complete review amount of time.
It's
So,
a process, I get that, but if we do have time for a reasonable review before the meeting, our questions will be intelligent, we won't miss all kinds of things. I
Just-
think it'd be much more valuable.
just like the comprehensive plan, the zoning ordinance is a product of the planning commission, and we want that. We're not keeping it from you. It's not a confidentiality thing. We just want to make sure we're right in what we're handing you from our experts and everybody else so that we can move forward and with a good solid document. We rushed it the last time we worked on this, and that's why we have the holes we have right now.
I hope it doesn't take as long as a comprehensive plan did.
No, sir, that's why we're getting it right up front. So
How thick is it compared to the old one?
it's actually shorter.
Really?
What?
Yes.
Okay.
I think that's great that.
We are so pleased with what we're doing. And
And I just want to joke because I hear your comments and I spent all afternoon working on it yesterday, and I would make a comment on Article 3, and then I'd realize, oh wait, that's addressed in Article 6, and I had to make sure that they work together, and just kind of there's a lot of back and forth. So when you do get it in front of you, just know that yes, write down your question or your comment, but make sure you go back through and see how they work together and everything.
Yeah.
But it's condensed, and we're hoping it's more user friendly, but yet still achieve some of the design standards we're looking for.
I really appreciate that it's shorter. I think, there's this great story that Mark Twain once wrote a long letter to a friend, and he ended it by saying, I'm sorry to have written you such a long letter. I didn't have time to make it shorter. So and I think that's really good. And the last thing I want to say, I talked to staff before the meeting about the Claris warehouse project, which has been generating some concern by some people. One of the concerns had to do with notice. And I just want to say on the record that after having talked with the staff, I'm very confident that we met all our requirements, and I'm really pleased with the way you're handling that.
Thank you. I told Mr. Foreman that Chief Rowell and I are going out to sit with Mr. Harper in the next few days to go over some more concerns. Katie and Chris have certainly been working on that replanting and landscaping plan, and I've known Mr. Harper for a number of years since I started with Hardyville. He was one of the first people I met, and yes, he is in a bad situation, and we're going to be out there making sure that things are moving forward for him.
Thank you.
All right. One other comment before we leave. One of the things I mentioned in my note to Katie was a map of West Argent and who's who in the zoo, and where the various things are. And are you going to be able to generate that for us?
Yeah, I'll send you the one that I generated. I apologize, I was out of town all last week, so when I got back and saw your email from Sunday, I was trying to keep up and get everything before the meeting. So I'll send you what I have so far, and then yeah, we're going to work with Thomas and Hutton to get you a more comprehensive one, but we will get you that map that was in the presentation.
At the same time, can we update East Argent? You gave us a map on East Argent, and I'm going in with crayons,
That's-
putting things in it.
It changes like every day.
Yeah.
We are working on it, and we will try to get you something as soon as we can.
Yeah, because, I love the one you gave me, but, I've crayoned in the
I
other
understand.
the other master plans.
I will I'll work with some others on that. We right now we're trying to keep up, so I'll get you what I can. Thank you.
Last time I was down 17, it's been a while, I noticed the tower was on its way up.
Mhm.
Very close.
It's vertical.
It is.
All right. Anything else? I have a motion to adjourn.
Second.
In favor?
Aye.
We are adjourned. Thank you for coming, and those of you who stayed.